Shopify Capital and even these other, merchant type of loans are not for you. And what I realized the most was that it kills cash flow. So it's a big flow of cash, and it's like business is in that cycle. And when that cash flow gets caught up and things come to a standstill, it can severely affect your business to the point where you can almost go out of business. Cash flow is the most important thing of business, period, okay? And so these type of loans and what Shopify Capital did for me was it killed my cash flow. And so I'm gonna tell you why, and I'm gonna tell you the things that I really didn't realize at the time. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the 9% Show. I am your host, Steven Burton, and here at the 9%, y'all know we keep everything 100. If I haven't done it, not doing it, or not about to do it, it will not come out my mouth. Welcome everybody to the 9%. Like we always do around this time, we give a toast to the 9%ers out there and those that would like to be into the 9% club one day. Cheers to y'all. Cheers to y'all. Please, before we get started, like, subscribe to this episode, to our channel. It really goes a long way, really helps other people find it. But today we're gonna talk about Shopify Capital, okay? We're gonna talk about Shopify Capital, and I'm gonna give my review on it and what I think about it, why I think it's not for you. I will first give, if you've watched any of my other videos, I have highly praised these merchant type loans. And I do think they do have benefits and they are good, but I just think you need to know more before you accept one of these, and that's what we're gonna break down here. And so just to give a little context as well, I go so far back, when I first started perfecttux, I was using Stripe as my payment processor. Stripe did a beta of their capital. It was like Stripe Capital or whatever it's called. And I was one of the first people that tried it out, and the terms was amazing then. But and I'm also, if you Google hard enough, you'll find me giving my testimonial on the Stripe Capital website for perfecttux. I think it's still there. It should be still there, but it was there for a few years, and I think it's still there. But that's another random thing. That goes to show you everything I talk about here on the 9% is fact checkable. Okay, we don't play no games around here. But so I remember using it then. And it wasn't bad. It really wasn't bad. But it was because it was such a low percent payback rate. The fee was very low and the payback percentage was very low. And traditionally how these type of loans work, and same with Shopify Capital, same with PayPal, working capital, same with Stripe, same with Square, all these companies that do this. Heck, I think even QuickBooks offers something that's based on your sales that come in. Pretty much they offer you a funding offer, a funding amount, and literally there's no credit check, there's nothing. It's all based on your sales history, and there's a flat fee. So they really hype the fact that it's just a flat fee. There's not necessarily interest. They're not paying interest monthly and compound interest and all that type of stuff. It's just one flat fee for getting that money. So let's say it's like $10,000. It might be a $1,000 fee. So you're gonna pay back $11,000, and then they say, oh, from that $11,000, we're gonna take 15% from your sales until it's paid back. And so if you don't have that many sales, you don't have to pay it back that much. It's just, a small amount. If you have more sales one day, then you pay back more. And it's like, just constantly take out that 15% until it's gone. So they give you different structure tiers, and if your maximum you can get is 15,000, or let's say it's 15,000, they'll give you, okay, well, 15,000 for this much is usually slightly higher fee, slightly higher percentage payback. There'll be a middle tier. Okay, if you want to borrow 10,000, and then if you want to borrow 5,000, and then he lets you pick, and then they even have it where you can say, okay, well, I only need 8,000, and you can give them that number, and they'll give you a quote for that. But it's really that simple, because all they're basing it on, from their standpoint, Like they got better information than banks have. They have better information than credit bureaus have because they see your sales transaction. They know your history. They know your trends. They know everything about you. So they know exactly that they can get paid back. And so they submit these offers to you. They also reject these offers from you. I remember I've done some in PayPal in the past, and it's like you do one, you get another one, maybe you get another one, and then all of a sudden randomly they don't want to give you one no more. And it's like, they know what's going on. Maybe business is slow. You have a slowdown. It's like they want to reject or give you a lower offer. So a lot of times if you see an offer at you, you might want to consider taking it because I always advise you get capital, get funding, get loans before you need it desperately. So the benefit, so that's really the main benefit of these type of loans is that it's really quick and easy access to funds. You know, you're not dealing with banks and long applications and 2 years of tax returns and all this type of stuff. You're not doing none of that. You're literally just clicking something on your mouse or on your phone and boom, the money is in your account very quickly. So I recently had a Shopify Capital loan and I used it for the first time. I switched over to Shopify in, I want to say 2021. Yeah, maybe 2021. We was using a different e-commerce platform and that's what I was using Stripe for. So when I switched over to Shopify, I was a little nervous, the fact that okay, my sales history is restarting with this new brand. I had all my sales history with Stripe, and those type of loans did come in handy. But keep in mind, they were the cost of the loan was a lot lower than what all of these companies, and I'm sure even Stripe right now, is offering people. So around to the end of last year, and this is how transparent I am with my 9% people, long story short, towards the fourth quarter, business gets slow. It's just a slow time of the year. And from a cash flow standpoint, it gets a little tight. And then I made a decision to hire somebody and get them trained for the busier part of the year. You know, you kind of got to get people on board a little early and all this type of stuff. So I was aware of everything that I was doing and I was aware of what was going on. But we got to the, slow part of the year, cash flow was an issue. And I was like, well, you know what? And then taking my own advice, before I need it desperately, let me apply for some stuff or let me see what was what. And so at the time, I do have a traditional loan and a traditional line of credit, but I chose to do the Shopify Capital. They actually was contacting me. It's funny, they'll contact you nonstop when they want to give you some money. It's really crazy. And they was even saying, okay, well, we can offer you better terms. I can offer you better terms than what you're seeing on the dashboard. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I took this loan out and my thought process was, pay it back over time, obviously until my peak season and, things was fine. I would just pay it back over time. And it was I really didn't want to tap into my line of credit yet because I was like, oh, just in case if I need something and your line of credit, that's connected to your business credit, your personal credit. Well, not your personal credit, but people see access to that. When you apply for future things, that's your, debt to income and all that type of stuff. But with these, Shopify Capital and PayPal or whatever else the case may be, no one sees it. They don't go on your business credit. They don't go on your personal credit. It's nobody knows it exists. So they can be a benefit because of that reason too. But so anyways, I took this out and this was my first time taking out a good amount of money on my main source of sales traffic. Before I did things for example, I would accept payments through Stripe, which was regular credit cards, and I would accept payments also through PayPal. And about maybe 20% of my sales that we get goes through PayPal. And so PayPal will offer me working capital loans, and it wouldn't be as great of amount, but I would love to kind of take them because that's not my main, where all my sales is going. So I knew I would pay them back slower. So it was fine with me. I would take it out there and it really didn't mess with nothing. So I never had a bad experience taking these loans out, but I think it was a combination of me using the PayPal one, where it's not my main source of where people would check out on my website. Again, 20% of the people would use PayPal. The rest of them would use just regular credit cards and pay and check out the website. And then two, using my main source of checkout funds. In the past with Stripe, it was a lot cheaper. Like it was maybe paying back 5%, no more than 10% of sales. And like I said, the fee was a lot lower. Again, it was better time and all this type of stuff. They was rolling it out. So it was very favorable terms. And heck, the credit landscape years ago in 2021, there was low interest rates, okay? Very low interest rate. I think the interest rates was like zero, prime rate and federal rate and all that type of stuff. So the landscape for borrowing money was a lot cheaper, okay? So I put all that in context to say why this experience with this Shopify Capital loan, I probably would not do it again, or I would really, really consider alternatives, or I would really consider I would know more about what decision I'm about to make. Okay, so I took this loan out, and like I said, it was a substantial amount of money. And my idea was I was going to pay it back over time. So the number one reason why Shopify Capital and even these other merchant type of loans are not for you, and what I realized the most was that it kills cash flow. It makes, and for those that don't know what cash flow is, so it's just the flow of your cash. You make a sale, maybe you got to buy some inventory, you make another sale, maybe you got to advertise, and it's like money is coming and going, and it's like you might have just had $10,000 in sales, but then you just spent $12,000 in new inventory. So maybe -2,000 for this moment, but then like 3 days later, you got another $3,000 in sales. And so that cash flow is just really what keeps businesses alive. Cash flow is different from being profitable. Sometimes you can have positive cash flow without being profitable at your bottom line number. Or sometimes you could be super profitable, but just have horrible cash flow because maybe you did an investment or something like that. And you just ain't got, at that moment, I don't have that money to pay my employee. I ain't got the money to pay my an investor or invest into my business. But in about a month, once I get paid from this person that owes me some money, I get paid, then okay, I can pay these people. So it's a big flow of cash, and it's like business is in that cycle. And when that cash flow gets caught up and things come to a standstill, it can severely affect your business, to the point where you can almost go out of business. Cash flow is the most important thing of business, period, okay? And so these type of loans, and what Shopify Capital did for me was it killed my cash flow. And so I'm gonna tell you why, and I'm gonna tell you the things that I really didn't realize at the time. So I'm just gonna make up a number and just throw it out, because I'm telling y'all enough of my business. I don't gotta tell you all of my business, okay? But let's just make up a number of $20,000, right? So let's say you take actually let's make it bigger. Because I need this story to make sense. Let's say it's $50,000. So that's some hardcore selling going on. So not everybody getting an offer for $50,000. But let's say you get an offer for $50,000 and you take that out. So in my business, I thought that I would slowly, in a traditional loan, if I got a $50,000 loan, I pay it back monthly. Every 15th, I'm probably paying, $1,200 every month, $1,200. But as I'm chipping away at that loan, and granted, there's an interest rate and all that type of stuff that Shopify Capital say they don't have, which they do. That'd be my next point. But you're chipping away at that loan, but you're getting to your peak season. For me, my peak season is the springtime, the summertime. That's my peak season. And as we get to that thing, now we're seeing sales. I'm using this amount of money when the business is slow, just for business operations. Then sales go up. Then all of a sudden, my check account is really, really great. And I'm but I'm paying off this little loan at a time. Maybe I decide, okay, cash flow is super positive right now. I have tons of money right now. Maybe I want to make a quick little $10,000 payment, just cut it down a little bit and save on some interest, or whatever I choose to do. I have the flexibility there. I can choose to do what I want to do, and I pay that off. What these merchant loans do, in essence, you're paying these things back daily. You're making daily payments via your sales. And so where this becomes problematic, whereas you would, with a traditional loan, just pay, your $1,200 a month that you're due. Let's say you have a blockbuster, and what happened with me, I had blockbuster months, boom, boom, boom. And let's say you made $40,000 in 1 month. You're screaming home like, oh my goodness, I made $40,000. We had $40,000 in sales. Like, oh, I'm kicking. And that is gross number. Okay, that's at the top before expenses and everything else going on. But they take away their percentage from that thing. Matter of fact, let's do the quick math real quick. We go figure out what that is, because I really want to make sense here, and I really want to bring it home. I'll probably put it on the screen, but I just want to do the math here. So, okay, so I think if it's 20% of your sales, that's $8,000. So, let's say of that 40, you had to pay $8,000, right, in a payment. In essence, you just made an $8,000 payment in 1 month, if that $40,000, when you would have just paid $1,200 in the traditional sense. You're paying $8,000. And let's say from that $40,000, let's just say it's keynote markup, and from that $40,000, it costs your product and everything costs you $20,000, right? So let's say that's $20,000 profit. But that $20,000 profit, maybe you pay for some marketing, maybe you pay for the employees, maybe you pay for some overhead, whatever the case may be. Let's just chop another, I don't know, $5,000 away from that 20, and then you made $15,000, right? Then you take that $15,000 and then you subtract that $8,000. Okay, what's that lead you? 5,000? My math adding up right? Hope it is. We'll put it on the screen if it ain't. But that went from making all that money from a successful month to, in essence, only making $5,000. So versus if you would have took a regular loan, that $1,200 payment I would have been having in my bank account, I would have had a good, $7,000 more money in my account. Cash flow, positive cash flow. So with my loan, and let's say with this $50,000 loan, what if you paid that $50,000 loan back in like 3 months? Like, what if you paid it back in that amount of time? That's over like $15,000 every single month that's going back to them, just because you're having an amazing selling month. That is a lot of money to go out the door that you don't even have an option to do. Like, some people would say, you know what? Nah, I need that. For me, my business is seasonal. I gotta get through a period, and I gotta save for when things get slow. Like I said, in the fourth quarter, things get slow. I would naturally save that money, bank that money, and chip away at it as I go through the year. But I literally just gave chunks of my profit away in such a big thing. So that's how the number one reason is just it really kills your cash flow. And why I never felt it before, why I never said when I was giving this advice, like, these are great loans to do and there's great things to do. And they are great. Granted, they're easy, they're quick and easy to access, but you really have to think about your cash flow. Okay, you really have to think about it. I did not know about it before because, again, I use PayPal, my secondary source of payments. Only 20% of my customers use it. So that 80% I wasn't getting a payment on. You know, if that 40,000 I made, it was only 20% coming from that, they would have only took their percentage of that $8,000 of sales, whatever the case may be. And then also, again, with Stripe, it was lower fees, lower daily payments for my sales. And then, like I said, you take it on account of, like, with e-commerce, you might have returns. We have returns. Like, there's all this stuff that just adds up that kills your cash flow. And I can't stress it enough on you really, really, really need to think about that. And if you take a real large amount, just know the timing. If you think you can stretch it out as long as possible, it's better. But just know when you get back to your peak season, when you have a great season, they are taking a big amount of money back in payments. Okay, so cash flow. The number 2 reason that I would not suggest a Shopify capital loan or any type of merchant loan is that it is really a high effective cost. It is really expensive if you pay it back quickly. Because as they do not charge an interest rate, they just give you a flat fee. Again, if you take $10,000, just to keep math simple here, and I'm not no math whiz, so I hope don't be in the comments if stuff ain't adding up, you know what I'm trying to say. But if we go keep things simple with 10,000. But you take a 10,000 thing, it's a 1,000 fee, that's 10%, right? And so you're thinking like, okay, if I have this loan for a full year, that's a 10% interest rate. In today's times, with the interest rates today, oh yeah, that's pretty good for a loan. But the problem is, that's in essence if you keep a loan for a full year and it's an APR, right? If you paid back that loan in 3 months, they're usually estimating it's gonna take you 10 months to pay it off. But in my situation, if I paid back a loan in 4 months that they were estimating was gonna take 10 months to have, in essence, my APR was way more expensive because I paid back so much fee in a short time. Because what if I retake it out and I retake it out? Then that 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%. You see how that could add up to a high cost? So when you think of it like that, the longer you stretch it out, for example, when I would be strategic about the PayPal working capital, knowing it only took 20% of my sales, it took a long time to pay it off. One of the loans one time went over a year. So they would hate a customer like me because in essence, I got to that 10% payback fee and the 10% interest. And if anything, if it went longer than a year, then it's going down to 9%, going down to 8% because it took so long for me to pay it off. But when you pay it off faster, it gets very expensive. It might not feel like it, but again, between cash flow and between cash flow, that's what makes it feel like it's a very expensive loan. So if you think you have, just be aware of how fast you're gonna pay this thing back. I would probably not do this type of loan again on my primary merchant account. I will probably do it again with a PayPal thing or something like that, but I would never do it on that because again, it's just, I have too much money coming in on this primary thing, especially during my peak season. And I cannot make no $30,000 payment to something when I don't need to, when I could have just paid $1,000. Like it's just, can't do that, okay? So it's really dive and do the math on what the true APR of it is if you pay it back quickly, because it is expensive, okay? The number 3 thing is like you have limited control and flexibility with these type of loans. It's not like you can negotiate terms and things like that. Well, you can to a degree. Like if you do enough business with these companies, they'll contact you and you can get slightly better deals. But once you sign that contract and once it is, like that's what it is. They're chopping away at your sales no matter what. I've never been in a position where I had to tell them, hey, no, you can't stop it. But the truth of the matter is, if you have low sales, there's nothing to take from. That's the essence of these things. But don't think, oh, I had a couple bad months, 3 bad months. They're not coming in to get this money. You better look at that contract, because they also say on them contracts, like, granted, you can pay more, pay less, but they have it within 90 or within 180 days, we expect at least this minimum amount of money paid back. If you don't hit that minimum amount, they'll take a lump sum, or they'll bill you, or they'll do whatever they can to get that money back. So it's not a situation where you have all day and every day to pay this thing back like they assume, like they want to say it is. You do, if you read the fine print of these contracts, you do have to pay back a certain amount of money at a certain amount of time. So it's not like you can just say, hey, I'm out of business now, I'm just hanging on to this money, or just businesses just fell off a cliff and you thinking you go get by there. So you really don't have too much flexibility there. Again, if you wanted to not make payments for a little while, I'm not sure if you can or not. If you call them and tell them about your hardship or something like that, maybe you can, who knows? But you really, with these type of ones, you really don't have that much flexibility that it makes it seem like it's an easier type of loan, okay? And those are my main things, and that's my review of Shopify Capital. Now, what would I have done differently? I mentioned at the beginning of this, I did have a line of credit, and I wish that I would have took the money that I needed out of the line of credit, because that is what my line of credit is there for, to help for these type of situations and help for cash flow. You get a little bit, you pay a little bit back, you give a little bit, pay a little back. I have a great interest rate on my line of credit. It would have just allowed me to have better cash flow. I already gave the example of having a $1,200 payment versus paying back $15,000, paying back $8,000. That is a big difference, okay? So line of credit, traditional loans, I know they are so much harder to obtain. I get it, I understand it, but as soon as you are in a good position to apply for a line of credit through a bank or to apply for a traditional loan, if that is what you need for some long-term things, I would suggest doing that versus taking from Shopify Capital or any type of merchant loan, especially depending on your reasoning. Another thing you gotta want to think about, honestly, I actually forgot, this should have been a point, but when you take these type of loans, you need to use it for growth. For growth. Don't use it to say, oh, I need to pay myself, oh, I just need to survive to get to whatever. If that money, in essence, you should have this thought process with any funding you have for your business. Because what it is if you're not growing your business, you're just advancing on your money. And if you're just advancing on your money and you're paying fees and you're paying interest and you don't have a thought process like, this money I am getting, it can pay for my working capital, but I'm gonna, by getting this lifeline, I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna bring in $5,000 more. Like, when you can do it like that, then it makes sense for that cost of money. Like, you always have to be thinking in the growth mindset when you take on loans, when you take on funding. Because the same way, if you took up a loan to open another store, a traditional loan to open another store, your hope is that other store brings in more income. You don't need that other store to bring you in nothing and you make the same amount of revenue. Now you're paying this loan and you got the same amount of revenue. You always want to say, okay, no, by me investing into this, by me getting this loan, by me getting this access to capital, whatever it is, it's going to allow me to do X, Y, Z. And don't get complacent and do what you're planning to do. It might not always work out that way, but you need to focus on growth strategies when you do that, okay? What else? Some other alternatives. Okay, we always talk about line of credit. We talk about traditional loans. I get it. If you're diving into one of these loans, times is rough. That's why you're kind of getting it for the most part for most people. But bootstrap, cut costs, do what you kind of do. Hopefully that can free up some cash there, or just really think about, again, growth, organic growth strategies. Really think about, okay, how can I get more revenue? How can I get more sales? How can I get the revenue that I need to borrow from right now in different ways of just growing my revenue number? Again, that takes planning, that takes projecting. We already talked about how important it is to have your books and your numbers and your profit and loss statements. You want to be ahead of so much stuff in business as much as you can. But if stuff hit the fan and you need money tomorrow, it kind of is what it is. But the most you can kind of get ahead of things and start saying, you know what, y'all, we need to start shifting our thinking. We need to start boosting sales. We need to call our salespeople. We need to double down on this. Whatever the case may be, you might need to figure that out and figure that out now. Okay? So that is my review. I hope this was helpful. I hope it's helpful to somebody that's not following some of these traps. And if you got one of these loans and you're like, wow, okay, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm in a bad position. And then they guess what? They go come right back to you and get, hey, you can reloan. I can give you some more money again. And you ain't gonna have a choice but to take that money again because your cash flow is jacked up. So just be aware of this, be very strategic. And that is my review of Shopify Capital. Until next time, we'll see you in the 9%. Please like, subscribe, share this episode. Please, it's some valuable information. Don't keep it to yourself. Heck, put in the comments. Let me know what you think about it. Until next time, I'll catch you on the 9%. Peace.